Hello, welcome to the very first episode of Shooter Ready, the Precision Rifle podcast by the GBPRA, supported by Boscabel Weapon Support System. I'm Simon, also is Christian.
Say hello, hi, everybody. Hi, Simon.
We haven't done one of these before, so hopefully, what could possibly go wrong?
Plenty.
And for those that can see what we're doing, we've got microphones and headphones, so we're clearly professionals. We've been meaning to do this for a while, haven't we, mate?
Yeah, we have.
It's taken a lot of moving parts coming together and time as well, because we're not together. We're sat in different bits of the country doing this on Zoom. Eventually, the plan will be to do these at events and shoots and all sorts of stuff. But for now, we're having to use the wonders of modern technology. And I feel immensely more professional for having a microphone. Not going to lie to you. Without the microphone, I think I'd be in bits now.
I think, though, mate, that my microphone looks considerably more professional than yours.
It does, actually. Yeah, it does. Mine's got one light on it. That's the best I can muster up. But I've got a microphone, so I'm going up in the world. We've got a lot to talk about. I mean, we've said we're going to try and keep it to an hour because it makes it a nice rounded product, but we could go on for a long time, so we're going to have to try and keep on top of ourselves. I mean, for me, the focus is going to be, for people out there, what are the GBPRA? Who are the GBPRA? What's it about? Where's it come from? Yeah. Dispelling a few myths, answering a few questions, making people realise that we're just one of them who found ourselves in a position where all of a sudden there was lots of people looking at us for important precision rifle matters.
Yeah.
And here we are. I mean, the biggest thing that people talk about at the moment was last weekend.
That was an awesome weekend. It's just amazing.
Now, I wasn't there. I had to pull out. Life got in the way, but I was devastated. You were there. You were in the show. Tell me about it. What happened?
Yeah, so we started off on Friday. Obviously, it was 3 days of shooting up at Orion Firearms Training in the Cambrian Mountains in the middle of Wales. A location that's becoming, well known on the precision rifle scene, and you get a lot of other clubs and people going up there doing long range shooting. Started off on Friday with one of our practice and training days. That was great, well attended event. I think there was about 13 guys there that were training and practicing, ranging from doing some barricade practice to checking the door, just making sure that the rifles were where they needed them to be for the weekend. We were joined on Friday by Alice Bond from Accuracy International. She actually came along and with a goodie bag for our Sunday match to give to the winner.
We love a goodie bag.
We do love a goodie bag. Yeah, there was some nice little bits and bobs in there. So thank you, Alice from Accuracy International. And Alice came along and she actually RO'd a mock-up of a stage for us. I think it was the rooftop stage. And, Alice has got years and years of shooting experience, and she was taking some of the new guys who've not shot a precision rifle match before through the drills, giving them lots of tips and useful advice. And you could just see there and then that they were taking it in and, learning something that'll really benefit them in the future. So that was Friday. What I will say about Friday is that we had some stellar weather. The sun was out. Yeah. It was a beautiful day, and that carried on throughout the weekend. It was like we weren't shooting in October. I mean, I shot my first precision rifle match to the weekend last year, and I was absolutely soaked. Didn't stop raining, so it was great weather. Then after a trip to the pub for a few social beers, and a bite to eat, we moved on to the important business of an IPRF qualifier on Saturday. Our third IPRF qualifier, we ran the first one in July, we ran the second one in September, and at each event we've had an increasing number of competitors coming along to shoot a match. That we got to the point in Saturday's match where we were actually oversubscribed. We had a full house of 30 shooters. We had more shooters than that on the waiting list. Myself and a couple of other GBPRA executive members actually gave up our spots on the match so that we could let other shooters have our places, and so that we could also help out on the day, because obviously
without bribery as well. There was no alcohol change stands, no cakes, nothing. It was just a straight.
Nothing like that. In fact, I missed the cakes. I was that busy on Saturday. One of our members, Will Childs, he's a regular up at the CIS shoots as well, up in Scotland, and he always brings cakes along. His wife's just an excellent cook, excellent baker.
We'll touch on it later on. The position we found ourselves in is still doesn't feel comfortable. Executive committee member. We shooters, with people that are passionate about this sport. We find ourselves having to put the association before the sport that we love, and that's been a difficult thing for quite a few of us. But anyway, so yeah, for those that did give up their spots, I know the people that took the spots were very grateful, as was I. It's just making it work. Being oversubscribed is never a bad thing.
No, not at all, not at all. And what was great to see on the Saturday was not just the fact that we had the numbers, it was where the numbers were coming from. There was a really, really strong mix of top shooters. There was a nice mix of people new to the sport and those that are developing in the sport as well. And we actually saw at that event, a couple of upsets, maybe, if you want to call them upsets, and also some of the guys that are just starting to come into the sport really shine and give the more established shooters on the circuit a little bit of a run for the money. I think it bodes very, very well for the qualifiers that we're going to have to come in December and hopefully next year as well.
I mean, we'll touch on this in more detail later, but that's the thing that's got me, is how the tables evolved. I match directed the first two shoots, and the gap on shoot one was significant between the top third shooters and the bottom third shooters. By the time we'd had a couple of training sessions, people had a chance to go through an event. The second event, that gap shrunk. And then last weekend, that gap shrunk again with some people. There's people who went away. I've spoken to people since who had the best day of their life shooting.
Yeah.
And that's because they're putting the reps in. You don't get success in this sport by just turning up with the best looking rifle. You've got to put the time in. And it's great to see that showing, people that are brand new to the sport, 6 months ago, they weren't shooting precision rifle, and now coming to events confident with the gear, with the techniques, and coming on at leaps and bounds in terms of the technical ability. It's great to see.
And what I really like about, just coming back to the training days, what I really like about those is how the established shooters are willing to put the effort into helping the newer shooters come through. We've had Josh Martin helping out. We've had Alex White. We've had Jack Crawford say that he'll come along and do some training on some of the training days as well. Joe Pask, I think it was Joe, pretty sure it was Joe Pask on Saturday, approached me and he put forward a few ideas about how we might want to approach training days and the phasing of them compared to the matches. Just, everybody at that top level of the sport is really, really keen to see the sport grow and bring new people through and raise the standard of shooting.
Another mention, then one you missed, Matt Stockman.
Yeah.
And there's so many people involved in what we do. Matt came along. We had 3 of them one day giving instructions. It was phenomenal. Matt, Alex, Josh broke off into little groups.
Yeah.
I'm definitely trying to get Matt back to do some more instruction. Matt's a talented individual, certainly around 2.2. He's one of the most confident people I've seen around a 2.2 precision rifle. Not just, this is 2.2, I'm good with it, but the evolution of training rifle to match rifle, going similar platforms, similar techniques, and trying to keep it consistent from training to match days. Matt's really, really good at that. So if you're listening, Matt, you got my number.
and now you mentioned Matt, I should also give a shout out to somebody else I've forgotten, and that's James Ford. James came along to a training day one time, and he was running some amazing drills on the tank traps.
We're going to forget people. We've had so many volunteers. Yeah. That's the nature of the beast. It's not a Premier League football team where you've got a starting 11. There's so many people that have helped out. Andy, Dean, on the days, people at Spotters Academy. I think it's the overwhelming thing of having a volunteer focused organisation. No one's getting a penny for anything they're doing. And we've just been overwhelmed by the amount of people who want to help us, which is what encourages me that the sport is in a fantastic place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, so that's Saturday. Back to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, so Saturday was a qualifier match. Let's talk a little bit about how the actual match went. Now, as you and me know, we have been in the past a little bit restricted on ROs, on how quickly we can move people through stages. So, and Saturday was no exception. We ran some very, very tight timings throughout the day on the stages, or we were going to run some very tight timings on the stages throughout the day. It seemed like for the first 3 stages, we probably had them a little bit too tight. We got some feedback immediately on that. We reacted to that. We realized that we're maybe getting ahead of ourselves. We had a bit more comfort, so we adapted on the fly. We reviewed some of the latter stages, and actually we got through the full course of fire, had a much better pace in the middle phase and the final phase of the day, and the feedback at the end of the day was to a man. Everybody had a great time and enjoyed themselves. It was a really good match.
That's the key. And for those that weren't at these events, the event before, we lost an hour to sheep, and we had to sort of say to ourselves, we need to be quicker. You know, it's interesting because I took a lot of feedback from members after that one saying, well, we need to make the stages quicker because that didn't work. And I said, well, it didn't work because we lost an hour and 30 minutes to sheep. So we make the stages quicker, and then what happens? And there's a thing, you know, the amount of times I've read or listened to podcasts, and designing stages is a thankless task. You know, having done it myself, anyone that thinks it's easy, it isn't. And it's you can never please everyone. You can please the ones that are winning. You can put the most difficult course fire out there. Someone will moan, but I guarantee the ones that first, second, and third will think it's the best course fire they've ever shot in their lives. All the timings are just right. Yeah, perfect, brilliant. That's the sport, isn't it?
I guess that is the sport, and I guess what we took away from that match was some valuable experience, just as we have from the other 2 matches. We weren't supposed to be organising matches or running matches. We were supposed to be collating scores from all the matches up and down the country, putting them onto a leaderboard and seeing who the best shooters were across all the events.
I'm going to stop you there because you're going to steal all the material we've got for a bit later on. Back to Saturday.
Yeah, okay. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So back to Saturday. Fantastic day. Tim Brush, match director, did a fantastic job. You know, he was getting across all the stages, making sure that everything was running smoothly, adapting to feedback, making sure the course of fire was adapted so that we could get all the stages in on the day, keeping a close eye out for sheep. Had a couple of moments that he had to adjudicate in terms of some decision making, because you know you often get the odd controversial moment on a stage where, you know, interpretation of the rules and so on.
So they're dynamic things. I've been doing it myself. Yeah. They're not things you can deliberate over a cup of tea and think, what should I do with it? That's people shooting, times running out, another squad coming in behind them. You know, you're thinking on your feet then you're under a lot of pressure. So I'll take my hat to him with that, having been there myself.
Yeah, he did an excellent job, Tim, on Saturday, and as did all our other volunteers. You know, I'd mentioned Andy Cudworth, I'd mentioned quite a few others that all helped out, including the ROs at Orion Firearms and Training. It's a real team effort to put on not just a match, not just a training day, but 3 days worth of shooting back to back. That takes some effort.
It does.
So Saturday was great. We had a little bit of an upset. Josh didn't win it. Josh Martin won the last 2. Ryan Charlton came into his first IPRF qualifier and beat the field by quite some distance. But then we also had people like Lawrence Barnes, Andre Mills, you know, people really upping their scores and coming through and really challenging the top guys. It was very interesting to see. And then you had, you know, guys like Timo Turl, Alex White, you know, those guys, Ben McIlwain, those guys that are always there or thereabouts up the top. Joe Pask putting in their usual good performances. Tom Rice shoots for your team. You know, we had some really good performances again.
Some good shooters out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And there's some
Very
difficult
good.
stages. I mean, there's one before. On all three events, there's been no easy stages. And I watch how some of these people apply themselves. There's some genuine talent. I mean, we'll talk about international events and the quality we've got in this country at some point later on. But every now and again, I just have to take a breath. I think some of these lads are magical, what they can do.
Yeah, exactly. If I could just touch on the IPRF qualifiers for a moment. You know, we've got a number of different divisions that we'd like to send a team to the Worlds in Hungary 2022, different divisions. If you looked at the first match back in July, it was dominated by obviously open shooters and factory shooters. Second match, we saw, I think, our first military and law enforcement shooter come in. This match, and obviously in factory again with the open, but starting to see some different types of divisions coming into play. This match, not only did we have open and factory in a full house, we also saw, I think, 3 military shooters. We saw 3 seniors, if I'm remembering correctly. So we're starting to see the shooters come through for the various divisions. We'd love to have somebody in ladies. We'd love to have somebody in juniors. Is that realistic? Maybe not at this time. But if we can really focus in on those categories, I think that'd be fantastic. Four categories for the IPRF Worlds. Amazing start.
And we've got time. I mean, we've had 3 events. We'll talk in a short while about what we've got to come, but there will be enough events for people to qualify if they're listening now and they think, do I get into this sport? You're a kid, you're a lady, or veteran, anything. Now's the time to do it while you've still got a chance to qualify.
Yeah,
tell me about Sunday then. So we've talked about Saturday. Saturday was great. We know what we're getting with Saturday, but Sunday was something special.
Yeah, Sunday was something special. It was a new one for me for a number of reasons. First of all, it's the first time I've ever taken responsibility for directing a match. I was responsible for the final course of fire that was put in place. Although I must say, I wasn't totally responsible for setting up the course of fire. I had support with yourself in terms of the first draft. James Ford was absolutely instrumental in coming up with some of the trickier little aspects of the course of fire. And of course, we had a lot of help from Dean Hadfield setting up the stages. Andy Cudworth again. We had Lucy, who came along on the day to help us with the scoring. We had loads of volunteers. It was fantastic. It was sun shining all day again. It was really well set up for a good day. So it was an exhibition shoot. It was a team format shoot as well, something that we'd not tried before. Okay, but I think something that is a very exciting format for the future. We split the teams. We had 5 teams with 4 shooters in each team. We had a team from C2 Precision, Josh Martin's team. We had a team from the 1 Mile High Club that was led by Charles Cooper. We had
just for reference, the 1 Mile High Club is something completely different.
I did call them that at the beginning of the day, and yeah.
Yeah, I think a few of them are a bit past it. I don't think the hips could take it. So
yeah,
C2,
right.
1 Mile Club.
C2, 1 Mile Club. We had Team Jackal, your team. They shot very well, although they were man down. Thank you, Richie Peake, for having your rifle in the car and stepping in at the right moment. Richie shot an excellent match.
Goodie bag is on the way to him as we speak.
Yeah, we had a team from the UK military, the 3 forces of the UK military, and we also had a team from Accuracy International. We shot 5 stages. First 2 stages were more of your typical precision rifle barricade type stages. We had a proper precision rifle barricade. We had a tank trap. We were shooting out at some fairly decent distances at some good targets there down in the valley. I think between 450 meters and 815 meters, if I remember correctly. We cycled all 20 shooters through those 2 stages within the first couple of hours of the morning, shooting from about 10 till about 12:15. We had about 10 or so spectators come along as well. They were in a designated spectators area, set up with spotting scopes. Some of them
and they all paid to come as well. That's the thing that people, they made a donation to the Royal British Legion, which was the whole reason we had the event and ongoing fundraising now. So for those people, we're grateful they've had to travel to Wales, their own time, their own money, and then had to pay to watch it. So fair play to you.
Yeah, and thanks also to the shooters that competed, because it was their teams that put their entry tickets in, and they made donations where they could. So it was massively appreciated. So we got through those first two stages, then we broke for lunch, and then we moved down into further down into the valley at Orion Firearms. And this is where it sort of got a little bit interesting. So we were no longer shooting traditional precision rifle stages. We now had three stages that were more based around the team. Okay, the team competing. The first stage we had was the what was the first stage we had when we got down there? We had the Milk Jug, we had the Dueling Trees. What's the card game? We had a game of whist. How can I forget the card game? Just memory blanked. So we had each team in turn. They had about 2.5 minutes, something like that. We had a deck of cards up at the firing point in the hut. Each team had to run into the hut, select 2 cards a man, run back to their rifles that were laid out in the prone position, and then downrange, nearly 300 meters away, we set up some A4 playing cards on a big board, and the shooters had to try and locate their corresponding cards on that board, and they weren't easy to see at that distance, and then shoot 5 rounds at each. It was high octane. There was lots of swearing as competitors realised they were shooting the wrong person's card, and obviously that person will have benefited from all those rounds that went
around. In fairness, the brief I gave them, it was supposed to be a leisurely day that was supposed to be enjoyable. We weren't too competitive. We got far from that. No one wanted to lose there. No one wanted to lose.
Not at all. So we had an interesting moment when Josh's card blew away. So he tried to still claim the points for hitting the space where the card had blown away from. You can't blame a try, can you? So it was great fun though. I mean, as a spectator sport, for people watching that as a spectacle, it was fantastic. Not just for the shooters, but for the spectators as well. So we got that course of fire out the way, and then we moved on to the Milk Jug challenge. So that was a pint of milk, different colours. We put food colouring into the water into the jugs, into the little pint jugs, fresh milk, and we set them up at I think it was about 370 meters, something like that. I think we worked out that it must have been like 0.2, 0.3 of an MOA at that distance. And again, we set the teams in the prone, 4 shooters. If the first shooter took their shot and hit the milk jug, the team scored 16 points. If he missed, but the second shooter got it 14 points, and so on until every shooter in the team of 4 had gone through 2 attempts. They could spot for each other, the call win calls and whatnot. The twist to it was, though, that if the first shooter hit that milk jug, every other shooter would have 2 rounds that they hadn't fired for that stage, and they carried them over into the last stage. And this is where it got very interesting, because the last stage was a dueling tree. So a shooter from each team, 5 shooters up at the firing point at once, all with a designated target on a dueling tree. And they had about 3.5 minutes. And the purpose of it was you had to hit your target and spin it around to the other side. And if the time ran out and your target was on that side, you scored points.
See, now I'm going to stop you now, just because I'm going to demonstrate just how human everyone is. You're explaining this because you didn't know what a dueling tree was up until last week, did you?
I didn't.
And I'm thinking, as soon as I realised that a dueling tree, I was like, we're using that all day. And I'm there saying, there's a dueling tree. And I speak to Christian, and it's just pausing every now and again. He's sort of saying, but okay, just explain to me how this works. And fair play to him, he said, I don't know what you're on about. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire for you, in fairness, because not only were you setting a course of fire for the first time, you were using a prop that you've never used. Because when you've used them, you realise they're a very simple mechanism.
But YouTube is your friend.
Used them. Oh, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Where would it be without YouTube?
I soon familiarised myself with it. So anyway, the twist was you get the target into a scoring position, but then your target is going to be a target for every other shooter on the other teams, because anybody can shoot anybody's target. What a laugh! The round count was, I think the round count on that was getting on for 16 rounds, something daft like that, 3.5 minutes, and it was interesting because one set of shooters were just like a fusillade. The shots were going down, they were battering it. Then the next group had come up, not a shot would be fired for a minute or two. Everybody was waiting the last minute, and then all of a sudden the bullets would start going down range. Such a laugh, such a hoot. Just brilliant.
And that's the difference. I mean, there was a stark difference in round count between an individual match on Saturday and the teams match on Sunday, but they're different beasts. You know, if you're not careful, you can put on a teams match that is just a load of individuals with tops on.
Yeah.
And this is what I spoke to a few people about, and they were saying, why is the round count so low? The teams event's completely different. You know, there's an argument that a conventional teams event, you only have one shooter per stage. You know, you pick your strongest shooter for that stage, or you pick your shooter and then the stage is forced upon you. You know, otherwise, yeah, big round counts, it just takes away from it. I think you start minimising the amount of ammunition people have got, and they start to look at it a little bit differently. Like you say, carried over a few rounds at the end. For some, it was make or break for some people.
Absolutely.
Having those extra rounds, you know, made the difference. If you had an extra 40 or 50 rounds in your pocket, then what's the point? There's no challenge there.
Yeah. What was I mean, I've shot our own GBPRA matches. I've shot other precision rifle matches. We seem to have by far the highest round count for a match, 100 rounds.
I think you've got to. I think for me, when you're looking at the quality of the competitors, if you're putting on a fun shoot, if you're putting on a shoot of no consequence, you can get away with a lesser round count. When you're looking at things like consistent international qualification, which is what we're talking about, you've got to be able to offer the sort of natural gaps that come with skill.
Yeah.
For me, 100 is a nice solid number to demonstrate the clear skill ability. And don't get me wrong, everyone has bad days and the weather takes its toll, but you know, 200-point competitions, 100 rounds, 2 points a round, sits really well with me.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you lose rounds. We lost a stage on the second event due to the sheep. I think we ended up running at 88 rounds.
We still kept the round count high.
Absolutely. But again, you'll get people that will argue you don't need that many, you do need that many. Again, this is the burden of someone that says, well, rather than shoot an event, I'll run one. And we'll touch on it shortly. You know, in the absence of us running events, we won't have people going to Hungary. That's the reality of where we are.
And I agree with all those points. What I like about the precision rifle circuit in the UK right now, and I haven't shot them all. I still need to get myself to PRS UK, and I will do hopefully next year. Family things have got in the way this year. But what I really like about the circuit at the moment is I think everybody's offering something a little bit different. You know, I go to our match and it's intense, it's full on, it's massively competitive, and we run it very much as an individual shoot, it's an individual event. I go to a CIS match. I've got to say, I love them. I love their competitions. I think they're absolutely fantastic. A round count somewhere between 60, 70 rounds, but the pace of the day, it's really, really nice. It's really, and they put a great show on up there with sandwiches and everything, and it's just an excellent stages. Their courses of fire up there are absolutely fantastic. I think somebody's got something to offer that's different from everybody else, and I think that's great. It's great to have that variety. But you're right, our competitions are focused on IPRF qualification. And for that, we need a high round count that's focused on a certain type of competition, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think for the teams events, I think, you know, having done one now, 50 rounds was good. But I think we could get it up to 60 or 70 and still have that same dynamic. It was brilliant.
Again, we'll talk about teams later on.
We shall.
So Sunday, AI won. I spoke to someone from AI who said, you know, I'm glad we were there. I'm glad we won. I think we've got to take a hats off and say that the strongest team, they were the strongest team before they got there. If they didn't win, they'd have a lot of explaining to do. But some of the teams that were put together and the people that were shooting as part of the team for the first time didn't have the opportunity to get the training beforehand. It was just a great day with some great people. And you mentioned volunteers, not putting you in a difficult spot, but you missed a couple. One of them was your son, #awkward.
Yeah.
The media team on the day, I mean, we're talking about what happened on Sunday. In the next week or so, you'll be seeing video, still images over the whole weekend, drone footage, all sorts. Luca, Dean, and
Dean was great. Yeah.
The three of them snapping away. Chris, yourself as well. Again, more volunteers producing the footage that A is entertaining, but B is also informative. There's nothing better than watching the same stage being shot by different elite level competitors and just watching what they do. It's akin to being in the Olympics and watching the top 10 javelin throwers throw. You're going to get something from it. You can't not get something from it. And that's the key for me. What we weren't doing previously was developing people. All the shooting that was taking place in silos. It wasn't going on open source on social media in a sort of catalogued way. We'll talk about the forum later, but eventually there'll be workshops online, video on the forum for how to deal with a barricade. And it won't just be, no disrespect, I'm picking someone out of there. It won't be Alex White's take on a barricade. It'll be Alex' take, it'll be Benny Mack's take, it'll be Timo's, Andre's. All these different people will give the new shooter their angle on how to deal with a barricade. And I think that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So Sunday, great day, great success, and demonstrated what I've been a fan of teams events. I think it's the future of precision rifle without sort of sticking my neck out too far. So the fact it went well and everyone made the effort was fantastic, and it's for a great cause in the RBL. So for those that are listening, if you were there and you made it work, thank you very much. We're forever in your debt. The reason we focused on this weekend and the reason we're doing this podcast now is because it's quite a significant time where we are as the GBPRA.
Absolutely.
The Sunday marked the last day that I'll say inherited, for want of a better word, from the PRL, when the PRL stopped being the PRL. What we do from now as the GBPRA going forward defines us. We were making it work. Some of the things you touched on before, we've done things a certain way. There are things that will be different at future events. Straight away, we've shown that the first training event we're putting on as ourselves is Alex doing a lot of positional stuff on the 7th of November as part of his Team AI. Alex, so much to give to people. And that's what training day should be for me. We call them training and practice. We put them on because we needed people to get into the sport as well as shoot at a high level.
Yeah.
If all we put on was competitions, all we'd be doing is nurturing existing skill sets at the elite level. And I say elite level comfortably. We've got people in this country that can go to an international event and compete, full stop. And it's an aspirational thing. There are people climbing up that ladder now that are getting towards elite level or have very quickly got themselves just on the edge of international qualification through what we think is as rigorous a system as we can come up with. But, we've had to make that work. We've had to find the volunteers. We've had to do those things. And I think it was a nice way to have I always said it was the sort of the fanfare, the finale of what we had to do initially as a task.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, when we took this on, the GBPRA weren't hosting events. Life was going to be easy. We were going to sit back, let other people do the hard work, go, yeah, I like him, like her, like them, and let's take those scores dead easy. We can sit in the pub and do it. Benny Mack was telling us, you can just steal these scores from here and it'll be fine. And off it goes. And that's far from what we've ended up doing now.
Oh, we could have done what they did in some other countries, and they just said we'll just have an invitational and we'll just choose people. But we always had a different outlook on it, didn't we?
it's in the rules. I mean, so, you know, we had those events, we got through them. We had 3 great qualification events, we had some great training events, put on something different for the last day. You know, but that was the phase of sort of forced shoots. You know, for those that don't know, the GBPRA came into existence to facilitate the selection of people to go out to the IPRF event, full stop.
That was it.
It was to select a number of people to go and be competitive. How that was going to happen, I mean, initially it was going to be the PRL was going to put events on. GBPRA could then select shooters based on the scores and off they go. We were set up for that. And, you know, the people that came to the table, that's what I signed up for. I signed up for that. I didn't sign up to run events. You didn't, and none of us did. And it's been a baptism of fire. It certainly has. Even for people like myself, you know, been in this industry for a long while, and you know, I've had a steep learning curve. It ain't easy running these events and keeping everyone happy if you can ever keep everyone happy. So, you know, the reality is where it all changed for us is the GBPRA, for those that don't know, is we woke up one morning and the PRL was going. All those events that were advertised and people were down to shoot at. And we had no other events, you know, cards on the table. We reached out to everyone. We tried to get as many qualification events as we could, but because of how the dynamic was then, it just wasn't happening. So we spent about 30 minutes scratching our heads thinking, what do we do now? And I take my hat off to Charles Cooper, our chairman. And for those that don't know Charles, you know, he's all I can call him is a statesman. He's one of the few people in the industry that I respect at the highest level. Calm hand, cool hand, you know, sensible, experienced, and he can shoot. And Coop says, we've got no choice. We're going to have to take this on.
Yeah.
And within an hour, we'd agreed to host at least 6 dates, 7 dates, 3 of which were qualifiers. And then it was just all hands to the pumps. And it's been a lot of hard work since.
A hell of a lot of hard work, but more than just the running of the matches. I think what we came to realise when we took on the GBPRA was that we had an opportunity here to build something more than just a qualification mechanism for the IPRF Worlds. We realised that, you know, there was something, I guess, unique that we could create.
Yeah, and equally, you know, there was lots of people that were, I'll say it as it is, were stood to be let down. You know, lots of people that had planned the shooting, paid in some instances. You know, it was a big hit for the sport at a time when the sport was already taking hits in terms of some venues being under, I'll call it, attack from local communities or planning issues. And I'm pretty sure at one point we were sat there thinking we didn't have a single nailed on precision rifle event in the UK at a sizable range.
Yeah.
And that's how dark it was at some point for this sport. And at some, you know, I even thought to myself, is this what I want to be involved in? Do I want this pressure or this responsibility? But before I know it, we're just getting on with it. And it was difficult. You know, I hate social media. I have a business, and my business has social media as part of its business structure, but you know, it can attract all the wrong things in people, or encourage all the wrong things in people, should I say. And we saw a lot of that. You know, I get distrust. I understand people distrusting something new or something different. But I can say to a man, the people that I was looking at left and right at committee meetings or face to face, they were all there trying the hardest to make it work. And I won't dwell too much on the sort of friction that we saw, but it made it very difficult. And you'll you know, Christian will be the first one to say, I used to say to people over and over again, just got thick skins. We're doing this for the right reason.
Yeah.
We're doing this for the betterment of the sport, for growing the sport. A sport we love that I still think is one of the most interesting of all target shooting sports, personally. I think if I was going to go and watch something, this is the one that would be top of my list. You know, some of the dynamic mini rifle stuff can be great as well, the UK PSA, IPSC stuff. But yeah, it was difficult. And heads got down, thick skin, big jackets on, tin hats on, and off we went. And it's got us to a very interesting place going forwards.
Yeah, it was interesting for a little while there. It was, come into this with all the best intentions, never had any gripe or bad blood with anybody who's in the sport, and you suddenly find yourself coming under, not attacks, but you're coming under criticism and scrutiny from people, coming under it as part because you're part of an organisation. But then at times it crossed the line and it started to get very, very personal as well. And like you say, you just had to. I mean, for me, it was a case of believing in what we were trying to do, believing in what we were trying to build, and believing that people would eventually see it how we saw it for what it is, and that would all go away, and I think it has.
And the thing is, that's against the backdrop of doing this as a volunteer, with a full-time job, family commitments. No one's, when you've got kids, and I think we've all got kids. Everyone on the committee's got kids, apart from James because he's only 15. 16. He'll be cursing. And you're getting this negativity, this friction, I'll call it, and you're thinking, I'm having to do this in my own time, and we're not making money. We're not a business. You'll put up with a lot of things, and I know firsthand you'll put up with a lot of things. The customer's always right. The customer's always right when they're a customer. When they're paying. Let's say as it is. You start going into McDonald's for free food. The customer won't be right for much longer. When you're a volunteer, the threshold for me is a lot lower. So we've got some really strong-willed individuals who took a lot of sometimes very, very personal flack. But we said we wouldn't dwell on it. It's in the past, and it makes it all the more sweeter for where we've got, to be honest. Yeah. In terms of what we've got, I mean, we're now looking forwards. We've had 3 qualification events, 3 training days, a charity event, an exhibition event, which opened a lot of people's eyes to there's more to this sport than an individual event and seeing who beats who on a one-to-one basis. We get to the end of March and qualification finishes for the IPRF. So we've got 3 more qualification events, 1 in December. We'll have subsequent qualification events in February and March at Orion. Those dates will come out hopefully next week, so there's no reason why they can't. And then we've qualified. Then whoever's there with the right scores will be offered a spot, and we'll pull together the strongest team we can across at the moment, 4 categories, open, factory, and then when open we've got veterans and police or military. And I think provisionally we're looking at like 16 shooters. Don't quote me on that, I'll have to double check, but
six for open. 6 for open, isn't it? 4 for factory and 4 for the other 2. So, yeah.
So 14. Is that right? I don't know.
18.
We're just making numbers up now.
It's 18.
Something under 20. And that's a massive undertaking. The logistics, again, as volunteers with no expertise in moving individuals' firearms and ammunition across the borders. I mean, aside of me having a few hunting trips to Hungary, and it's quite daunting. But again, the potential for people to go out and shoot on an international stage, prove what they can do. And again, I've said before, we've got some really talented individuals who I'm genuine. I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to going and seeing these individuals compete against what the best of the world has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you find yourself doing that. Did you find this? I mean, you were my shooting precision rifle, I'll say competitions were before PRL existed. I was down at Roundhouse and Orion, and family life sort of kept me away from the majority of the competitions. But you've shot the competitions and then gone to match directed, and you find yourself becoming a fan as opposed to a competitor. It's a strange thing. I look at some of these people, I watch them and I'm thinking, I'm enjoying watching this person. I'm sort of invested in this. For those, I think there was a video of it. For those that, I think it was our first event, could be wrong, and we had the prone to prone jumping jack, I think it was called.
Oh, it was great to watch.
For the hill, and you watch the speed. I remember watching Alex and Josh, how quick they were on that, and I just thought to myself, that's as fast as a human can physically move through a stage that difficult. And then you just think to yourself, who else is out there that can do it? And then it becomes a very interesting dynamic of seeing our competitors against their competitors. And you become quite partisan about it. And you've got to be partisan. If we're not going to support them and wave the flag, then you're a damn squib, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the build to Hungary will begin. In the new year. We already have a rough idea of who's up there, and for those out there that are asking, why have we not got the names of the people that are currently qualifying? It's not that simple. Anyone can see the scoreboards and can work it out for themselves. There's some very complex scoring systems, ways of working it out. But there's also the human factor in that some of the people that are currently qualifying, we know wouldn't take up the offer of going for whatever reasons, be it personal or other. So it's not as simple as saying, well, that person is currently going, because we've got to respect their privacy or respect their views. And if they've told us they don't want to go, then it would be wrong of us to put it out there. So yeah. I think in the new year, we'll start to, James is doing a piece of work about who wants to go, who is going to go, and what support we can give people, because I'm all for supporting people. It's a difficult road to get out there financially, physically, and time-wise. So we've got to do what we can. But yeah, so bear with us in terms of that. You can see the scoreboards. Christian gets them up as quick as he can.
And I've always had that vision, haven't I, of that national domestic
love a good scoreboard
league that brings all of the scores together from all of the various shoots. I'd love to just see that national leaderboard, like you've got the Premier League or the Championship, all the shooters, everybody on it. It'd be fantastic to see.
It'll come, because we're just speaking about Hungary now, but beyond Hungary, the question remains: what are we going to do as an association?
Yeah.
Now, again, the biggest one of the problems we've had is, this is not a problem of our own making, is if we want to run a qualification shoot for 2024 or qualification process for 2024, i.e. the next Worlds in 2 years' time, after the one we're currently qualifying for, unless we've got someone out there that's running qualifications for us, we can't do it. So until someone comes forward and says, we'll host qualification events for you, a business, whoever it might be, a current provider, our hands are tied. That's the reality of it. We've got to keep the momentum going. There's a lot to offer away from qualification, which we'll talk about shortly, but that's the reality for people out there. I've had people say, well, I thought you were only going to run events up until March. But then what? Do we just say, thanks, folks, we'll see you in 2 years and we'll start again from zero? We've got to keep going, because the IPRF Worlds are going to be every 2 years forever. And we've got to be self-sufficient.
And we've got a big membership now. I remember we had one of our first executive meetings, and we just said, we need 40 people that can go to the Worlds.
I remember that.
Oh, that's all we need. That's all we need. And we said, that's fine, but maybe we need to, there'll probably be more than that want to join and try and qualify. So let's build a proper membership, and it snowballed, and we started to really see what this could become and build that vision for what the GBPRA could be in the long term, and what it could mean for the sport of precision rifle in the UK, just for dynamic shooting in the UK. And so we launched to members, and now it's a massive membership compared to what we thought it would be.
3 or 4 months in, I think we are, aren't we? I know we're longer in the whole process, but membership didn't happen straight away.
Yeah, was it May the 7th or start of May that we switched on the website?
Oh,
But it's interesting now, because we do have a membership, and we've now got to listen to them. And if that membership tell us that's what they want and that's what they expect, and whether that's us continuing to host our own matches, doing this, doing the other, we've got to listen to them.
Yeah, and I remember, the conversations we had. I was quite frustrated early doors when all we were provisionally going to be as the GBPRA was a mechanism for Hungary. And then it feels very elitist, and you think you're not serving everyone. And, if there's one thing I am, it's passionate about all levels of the sport, grassroots. The amount of people I know, incredibly talented shooters, that haven't got the financial provisions to shoot a certain platform or get to all the competitions, wherever it might be. And that's the leveler for me. I've made no secret speaking to people. If the GBPRA achieves one thing, it should be a charity or equivalent looking to support the development of, I'll use the word underprivileged, that sounds very dramatic, but those that want to get into the sport that aren't at the elite level. And especially for kids, we've all got kids. We know how expensive this sport is. If your kid turned around and said, I want to come and shoot precision rifle with you, you'd have to start, scratching your head. And I couldn't sustain 2 kids in this sport. So it has to be, we knew that it always had to be more than just the mechanism for Hungary. Unfortunately, we're there now, and there's so much going on. I mean, looking at the clock now, we're not going to get time to talk about them all, but the Spotters Academy, the affiliates program, 2-2 stuff that Matt and Adam are pulling together. There's so many ways to get into this sport before you pull in the trigger at an IPRF qualification event now. People coming and watching, spectators is a massive thing. And we've had some spectators and come along, and great people from all walks of life. So I think going forwards, like you said, we've got a membership now, and if anyone has seen me on social media through gritted teeth, I go on social media, but it's not a question I'm afraid to answer.
Mm-hmm.
We want to engage, we want to hear what you've got to say. Don't get me wrong, if you're going to be negative, I'm going to pull you on it. This is hard enough as it is to do all this in our own time without having to deal with someone's insecurity or inadequacies, trying to project them onto us. And typically, the people that aren't even members shoot our events or want to take part in our events, they're just internet trolls. And again, only recently, we'll say it is Christian, we turned the comments off on Facebook. Yeah. Some of the stuff we were having to deal with on Facebook, people being personally abused, and it's just horrendous by spoof accounts, and we saw it all. But it's only now.
I mean, it was bordering on harassment. I mean, personal messages to members of the executive committee, myself included, every 5 minutes. So somebody sent, same person, same message over and over again. It was harassment. Plain and simple.
And there were messages getting sent to other IPRF and other international bodies within precision rifle shooting. These were campaigns by people. But now we're at a point where I always hoped we get to. I say hope, I doubted it at times, but where we've got a real cross-section of the shooting community, and hopefully people are starting to see that we're in this for the right reasons. And only now are we starting to see it. I mean, it's dropped off the last few months, but I think now it's a much better thing. I still don't like social media, I never will. I don't trust it. Anyone that's got anything to do with firearms should be very, very wary of Facebook and Instagram. We're in this country, we've got all sorts of protections afforded to us under the European Convention on Human Rights. You look at what's happening in America with the anti-Second Amendment movement. I've got good buddies who run firearms businesses in the States who've just woken up one morning and the websites and the Facebook's gone. They don't like weapons, they don't like firearms. I'm not talking about the extreme side of things. I'm talking about just mundane algorithms picking up the word rifle. We are the Great Britain Precision Rifle Association. We talk
about shooters.
Exactly. We should always be very wary of Facebook. It's a necessary evil, I think is the best way I can put it.
Well, we've got the forum. We've got the forum now, and that is a direct attempt for us to put a safe space that's online for people in precision rifle that can come along and talk freely and openly without the worry of censorship or the worry about somebody getting the knickers in a twist over what we're doing.
Classified ads, trying to sell anything online, gun trader, all the stuff that happened. It's a very dangerous game, and for me personally, if it comes to moving in circles when it comes to firearms, you should only be dealing with people you know. And that element is there with members. On the whole, we know them. You can get vouched for very easily if you're going to sell something. Those that are on the forum will have seen the posts that I've put on saying only deal with people you know. If you don't, ask for a voucher. I know that sounds like a very draconian thing, but we're a small country. Maybe 300 or 400 precision rifle shooters, top end. This isn't America with 20 or 30 people doing this sport. Already in the past 6 months, we've pretty much touched toes with everyone that has shot a competition in this country. Full stop. I'm struggling to think of anyone that's out there that I've said I'll have a beer with him at some point. I think they've all broke bread with us now.
Yeah,
so that safe space that Chris.
Sorry, go on.
I said that safe space that Christian talks about is absolutely that. Like-minded individuals that we know and can vouch for, that we know are FAC holders because they shot our events. You don't get that on Facebook. You don't know who you're dealing with, who you're talking to. You don't get it on a lot of websites, other forums. And that's the thing for us. That's why Meopta and Ruag were so keen to support us with the deals they were doing, because they knew we weren't time wasters. We were reputable people, sportsmen in an elite sport, a very expensive elite sport. And that's what you get from an association, for me, that you don't get from a Facebook page.
Yeah, exactly. And what I found interesting is it's the timing. So we started to come out of some lockdowns. The matches started to get back on the calendar. People got out there face to face, shaking hands, shooting together, and it is quite interesting how a lot of the negativity that was flying about on social media started to die away at the same time that people were able to get together and look each other in the eyes and realize that we are just a community of people that are engaged in a sport that everybody loves.
Yeah, and long may it continue. Long may it continue.
Absolutely.
We spoke about Hungary. Hungary be massive. I mean, we'll do a podcast about Hungary in itself. Teams is the other thing I wanted to touch on. I mean, you've mentioned members and forums and stuff like that. Going forward, ask yourself one question. If you're on Sky Sports and you were looking through all the sports that are on there, and what would it take for you to have your attention grasped by something that was on Sky Sports, a shooting event? And for me, the most interesting element is that teams competition. Don't get me wrong, it's great to watch, and for those that saw, Silverstone had the Hawk Mini Rifle Championship on Sky, and it was great. And there were some team shooters in there, sponsored shooters in there, but on the whole, it was individuals that you didn't know. It's like our events. You turn the channel on, and unless you're in the community, you're not going to know who some of these individuals, significant individuals in our community, but you're not going to know who they are.
Yeah.
You're going to know who AI are. You're going to know who some of these industry companies are. And I think that's, as a spectator sport, where personally, and if I'm one thing, I speak my mind, I think that's where we should be going. So next year we will be hosting more team events, individual events as well, beyond March. What exactly they look like yet, we don't know, and let us know what you think. You know, we've said it before, we're approachable and we're engaging. And the consensus was, and you'll see it yourself, if you weren't there, you'll see the footage and you'll see just how good an event it was. And what a team event brings is it takes the pressure off individual shooters. So take a team that's got 8 shooters within the cadre. They only need to send 4 to an event. It becomes much fairer then, and someone can go on holiday without feeling the pressure of having to be at every event. You know, Josh is panicking now because one of the dates we're going to have next year is going to be when he's getting married. Congratulations, Josh, again. And I hope that wasn't a secret. And life gets in the way if you're an individual shooter. So teams is the way forward. And only time will tell with that. So yeah, individual events, team events, lots to look forward to, new venues, new places to shoot. I mean, while we're on venues, I'll talk about costs. It's the thing I spend most of my time talking about. And Christian will tell you, I upset a lot of people once at a very, very early committee meeting when I sort of scratched my head and was quite outspoken saying, these prices have to change. You know, what venues charge have to change.
Yeah.
And I think I was laughed at, Christian, wasn't I? And the thing is, I'm a firm believer is that this is an expensive sport. And just because someone's got, you know, £3,000 platform with £2,000 glass on the top, doesn't mean that they made of money. That's their investment for their sport, their hobby, their passion. We've got to get the prices down. So we've done that. You know, we've shaved off money where we can. The reality is we run an event at Orion. Not only do we not break even, I mean, the reality is I think we lose a few quid on each one because of the booking system. You know, this isn't about making money. And I think if you are making money, you can do things differently. I think my angle is the prices need to come down. Shooting in this country should be as cheap as possible, and I personally do everything I can. The members will decide what we as an association do, but pretty sure those members would agree with me that if we can look to next year and start to say beyond the IPRF qualifiers, if we as an association can look at ways of making those shoots more cost effective, be it supplementing them, be it picking up new venues with lower costs, whatever it might be, it's got to be the focus to make this sport more affordable, because it goes full circle to the whole grassroots. Underprivileged people getting people into the sport, unless it's affordable, and I say affordable, safe and lawful, not talking about shooting over a field, questionable firearms certificate, conditions and all those sorts of things that it goes on, it happens. I'm talking about legitimate, bona fide, safe and lawful ranges to a military standard in some cases, where you can go and shoot safely, not worrying that you're going to lose your ticket, and making that as affordable as possible. And that's, for me, it. That's what I think our focus has got to be as the GBPRA, is to provide as much affordable shooting, either directly ourselves or through other providers, for the members.
Yeah,
it goes beyond that.
As you say, we made it a priority, didn't we, to bring the costs down for our members as quickly as we can, and we made inroads into that immediately. But you're right, that still need to come down further from where they're at. But we're in a unique position in that, we're not for profit. Yeah. We are in a position where all of the money is the members' money, and we use it to the benefit of our members.
And some of those costs people don't know about: websites, forums, spotting scopes, timers, Sharpies, bibs, all those costs. It's strange to see an organisation, no one, I've been running events, Christian, as other people, travelling our own time and our own money, pay our own accommodation. And some people, I think, perhaps wrongly saw what we were doing as some sort of gravy train. It's far from it. It cost me a fortune to get from North Yorkshire, God's own county, down to Wales. And I've been doing it there and back in a day sometimes, because family life's got in the way. I'm looking at my clock, Christian. Have you got a timer there saying how long we've been?
I don't know how long it's been. I don't know what time we started.
I think it was 8:24. 8:24 I've got in my head when we started. I don't particularly run too far beyond an hour. I mean, we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, what I'd say is, if you're with us already, thank you for being with us. If you've signed up as a member, brilliant. If you've not, come to an event, see what we're about. We're normal people. We love the sport. If you're sitting on the fence and wondering, then there's so many ways to get involved with what we're doing for nothing. But like anything, our ability to lobby and develop shooting opportunities for people increases with the membership. I've been quite out loud in terms of we should be lobbying certain, I nearly said agencies then, that's the wrong word, because lead people. We should be able to lobby to get the cause of precision rifle moved forward, be that with venues, be that with, I personally think that the conditions on firearm certificates are draconian, and they need reviewing. There's no push from the NRA or the BASC to do that, but for precision rifle, I know there's some very intelligent people out there that agree with me that that's an area that this sport perhaps could do with some support, because there's lots of grey areas, inconsistencies nationally, those sorts of things. So we're only as effective as our membership allows us to be in terms of physical and financial input to try and grow the sport. I think that's everything, mate. We'll have more podcasts. I mean, is there anything else you want to touch on before we call it a day?
No, I think it's just, my only closing message to people would just be, wherever you're shooting, whoever you're shooting with, just be good to each other, be kind to each other, and have a good time. That's what we're all in it for.
Beautiful. We said we're going to try and do a podcast every month. We've got lots of people lined up to be interviewed. It's not just me and him talking. This one was important to us to try and dispel a few myths and be open and honest about why we're here. And beyond that, the world is our oyster, and there's some very interesting characters in the sport, and we'll look to get them on this podcast and find out how they do what they do and what makes them better than everyone else, because that's the bit you'll want. Precision rifle shooting, it's a fast-paced sport, and I think it's only going to get faster. The more venues and the more individuals are involved. So long may it continue. Christian, thanks for your time. It's been great to speak to you. And those out there, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.